Assalamualaikum. Today, we would like to share with you one of the topics that we have learned in educational psychology, which is Applied Behavior Analysis or ABA. Over 100 years ago, the underlying philosophy of behavior analysis was introduced. The best way to understand people is to focus on their behavior, the things they do, and also what they say. Over the next few decades, this viewpoint inspired a number of researchers who discovered that the general reasons why people do what they do. Their core discovery was that the event immediately following behavior determine whether it will be repeated in the future. This is known as the principle of reinforcement. In the 1950s and 60s, researchers began using these discoveries to improve people's lives through behavior change. This effort led to the development of an applied science called Applied Behavior Analysis or ABA, the foundation of our modern day practice today. ABA is a scientific approach for researching the relationship between behaviors and the environment, designing methods to change behavior based on this research and systematically applying these methods to improve behaviors that are important in people's lives. So, where do you fit into all of this? Well, through this approach, you will learn how to apply this method to improve your student behaviors, which have been identified as important to you and the student team of professionals. Now, let's hear what the expert says about ABA.
Analysis taking a science that's been around for decades that discover why people do things, how people respond to reinforcement, how they respond to their environment to improve lives and improve our relationships with other people.
A lot of the work that behavior analysts will do is set short-term increments or short-term goals such that they can then contact those larger later reinforcers.
So we just find ways of creating treatment plans to manipulate the environment to promote learning.
My job basically is providing therapy to individuals with developmental disabilities.
I can look at the science of behavior and apply it to physical health changes.
So now we move to desirable behavior. Desirable means wish for as being an attractive, useful, or necessary cause of action. And behavior means the way in which one acts or conducts oneself, especially towards others. So, desirable behavior can be interpreted as a useful and necessary way to conduct oneself. First, positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is using a reward for positive behavior to make sure the child continues with the desired behavior. Research has shown that the most effective way to reduce problem behavior in children is to strengthen desirable behavior through positive reinforcement, rather than trying to weaken undesirable behavior using adversive or negative processes. Dr. Sidney Vivijo, International Encyclopedia of Education. Okay, next we move to ways to increase desirable behavior. Examples of reinforcement. First, a teacher handing out gold stars to children that turn in their homework on time. And second, a babysitter telling her child great job when he puts away the dishes. A father providing his child with a piece of candy for picking up his toys. And lastly, your teenager studies hard all semester and receives an A for a challenging subject. You take your teen out for dinner and a movie. And lastly, I have a quote from Virginia H. Pierce. Positive reinforcement changes behavior for the better, while criticism stabilizes negative behavior and blocks change. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Next is the ways to increase desirable behavior. We can use positive reinforcement, which is one of the operant conditioning. It consists of presenting someone with an attractive outcome following a desired behavior. This is to describe a functional relation between two environmental events, which is a behavior that can be observed and a consequence of a result of that action. For example, by giving reward for the students that behave themselves in a classroom, the reward is the consequence, and behaving themselves in classroom is the observable action. The reward can come in any kind of shape, such as points, praise, gift, sweets, or monetary gift. We also can use encouragement. It can be used in a range of settings and situations to teach new skills and encourage people to do their best. It can be as simple as telling someone good job. Parents who praise their children for putting away toys may teach the children to be neat. It is a practical way to put psychological principles to work in everyday life for great result. It can improve confidence and self-esteem and encourage self-reliance. One of the way to increase desirable behavior is token reinforcement system. Token reinforcement system used to increase appropriate behavior and learning via visual aids. Tokens or rewards are the reinforcers that the child earns and that are then exchanged for a larger reward based on the child's success. Next is group contingency system. A group contingency system is a behavior management protocol where a single consequence, it can be reward or aversive, is given based on either the behavior of an individual in a group, the behavior of a particular set of people within the group, or the group as a whole. By using group contingency system, everyone in the group will be behaving themselves, because if not, their whole group will receive the punishment. And when they are behaving in a good behavior, the whole group will receive the reward or a gift.
So next, I will share with you about the undesirable behavior. So what is undesirable behavior? Undesirable behavior is unwanted or unwelcome behavior that irritates others and becomes problem for others. For example, is cheating in exam, late for class, using phone during the class, bullying, and bad manner. So those examples from the undesirable behavior. Reason and causes for undesirable behavior. For the first is boredom. This could be because the teacher dominates the whole class activity. He is lecturing all the time and the students are listening. So what have the teacher do? Teachers are urged to be friendly with their students by keeping their sense of humor and know when to ask for help. So next is depression. This is the one reason could be because of the strict rules imposed by the teacher. Sometimes the speed the teacher in giving the material to his student feel that they don't understand anything, which lead to depression. So the next is the attracting the attention. Some students is fail in attracting the attention using previous ways. Instead, they tend to make dispute inside the class as a way of attracting the attention. So the teacher have to advise to deal wisely with this group of students because they are not really bad. He can direct them to do a favorable activity like playing football or anything that could attract the attention of other students to them instead of this negative behavior. So the next is violence. This is a natural reaction to express their anger and disapproval of what's going on. For instance, certain critical remarks from their colleagues or being insulted by their classmates could cause students to be involved in violence.
Next, I will continue with ways to reduce undesirable behaviors. Differential reinforcement of incompatible is a procedure in which a teacher will recognize inconsistent behavior with or cannot occur simultaneously as problem behaviors. These behaviors is mainly focusing on replacing negative behaviors with positive behaviors. For example, a teacher may praise his or her students for working on an assigned homework, but ignore the student for displaying stereotypical behaviors. This technique shows that the teacher only focuses on the positive behaviors by praising them, while replacing the negative behaviors by ignoring them. This procedure allows the teacher to identify a prosocial or appropriate behavior in which the student should be engaging and prevents them from engaging in a problem behavior specified by the teachers as troublesome. Next is the differential reinforcement of alternative behavior. It involves threatening behavior that may serve as alternative, but isn't necessarily compatible with inappropriate behavior. Replacement behaviors used to substitute behaviors that limit learning and inclusion with behaviors help promote success in the classroom and daily living tasks. For example, Susan throws things in the classroom whenever she is asked to read more than one page during reading time. The teacher should teach Susan how to use her communication skill instead to ask for a break. Susan will not get a break unless she uses her communication skills by appropriately requesting to take a break. This behavior she does is because she wants to avoid reading more than one page during reading time. The teacher should allow the students to ask for a break before continuing her reading. The interval can be referred as the replacement behavior to ensure that the student cannot escape from reading more than one page. Lastly, the differential reinforcement of low-rate behavior. This procedure providing reinforcing consequences immediately after a specific time interval only if the rate of targeted behavior during that period has equal or been lower than a stated level. For example, Edson is a very bright boy and raises his hand to make a comment an average of 15 times during a 50-minute period. This is not an appropriate behavior. So, the teacher decided to tell him that he can get a reward only if he raises his hand to a few times each period. In this situation, the teacher may not want to ultimately reduce the tendency of Fatin, who always giving comments during the lesson, but only wants to reduce the number of his requests during a particular period.